Eels reproduce in ways that are both mysterious and diverse, depending on the family. Freshwater eels, like the American, European, and Japanese species, live for a decade or more in rivers and lakes before beginning an extraordinary migration. They travel thousands of miles across the ocean to deep tropical waters such as the Sargasso Sea. There, they spawn once in their lifetime, releasing eggs and sperm into the water. After this single act of reproduction, they die. The fertilized eggs hatch into transparent, leaf-shaped larvae called leptocephali, which drift with the currents for months or even years, before metamorphosing into glass eels and eventually returning to coasts and rivers. No one has ever directly observed their mating in the wild. So much of what we know comes from larval sampling and tracking studies. Conger eels follow a similar pattern, but their lives are spent entirely in the ocean. They grow in coastal waters and reefs, then, when mature, migrate to extreme depths, sometimes several thousand meters down, to spawn. Like freshwater eels, they are semeliparous, meaning they reproduce once and then die. Their larvae also take the leptocephalus form, but generally drift for shorter periods before returning to coastal habitats. The European conger, which can reach 3 meters in length, is a striking example of this group. Moray eels, on the other hand, take a different approach. These reef dwellers remain in warmer coastal waters and do not migrate long distances. When ready to spawn, males and females coil together, releasing eggs and sperm into the water for external fertilization. Unlike freshwater and conger eels, morays can spawn multiple times over their lives. Their leptocephalus larvae drift for several months before settling on reefs. In some species, spawning events occur in groups and are linked to the phases of the moon. Other eel families add more variation. Garden eels live in colonies, half buried in sand, and release their gametes into the water in synchronized group events, often timed with lunar cycles. Snake eels, which burrow into sediment, are less well studied, but are believed to spawn in open water like congers. Spiny eels, which are not true eels at all but belong to a separate freshwater family, attach their eggs to aquatic plants in rivers and lakes, and their young hatch into fry rather than leptocephalus larvae. Taken together, all true eels share the unusual leptocephalus larval stage, a drifting, transparent form that eventually transforms into the familiar elongated juvenile eel. Freshwater and conger eels undertake epic migrations and spawn once before dying, while morays and garden eels stay local and reproduce multiple times, often guided by the rhythms of the moon. Spiny eels break the pattern entirely, laying eggs in freshwater like more typical fishes. This remarkable variety makes eel reproduction one of the most intriguing and still partially mysterious stories in the animal kingdom.